recently been laid off or worried that you're next on the growing list of those affected by layoffs every day in this country, well then this video is for you. I'm going to give you 6 things that you must do if you're laid off. So let's get started. Before I get into my list, let me introduce myself. My name is Ashley, and I've been in talent acquisition for over 12 years. I have hired thousands of people just like you. I have a true passion for helping people find their dream job, and that is exactly why I created this channel. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video. You've probably seen it in the news or all over LinkedIn that there are thousands upon thousands of people that have been laid off just this year from large tech companies all over the country. And not just those tech companies, there's other companies, smaller companies as well. And whether you're with a big tech company or a small company, being laid off is scary. It's tough. I know it all too well. I was recently laid off from what I thought was my dream job at PayPal. And I was not prepared. And because of that, I created this list to help others that are in the exact same situation. So, number 1, the first thing you need to do after you get laid off is to get the info that you need. Now, when I got laid off, I kind of knew it was coming just a few hours before. And so what I did is I actually recorded the conversation. It wasn't really a conversation. What happened with me is I received a very vague calendar invite at the beginning of the day, and it said like leadership update or recruiting update. I wasn't really, it was obvious it wasn't a normal Teams meeting because I couldn't see who was on it, and it was a link to like a video. So I knew that I knew what it was. I knew it was going to be a layoff because they had announced just the week before that they were going to be laying off 2,000 people. And when I went into the meeting, it was pre-recorded video. The first thing I did is I whipped out my phone and I recorded the video. The reason why I did this is because I knew my emotions were high, and that as soon as you hear those words, everything else around you, you're not really paying attention to what's going on. It's almost like Charlie Brown, like the teacher, like the wah wah. Yeah, like you don't know what is going on around you. So I recorded it so that way I could go back in case I missed any important information that I needed. So if that's an option for you, I highly, highly recommend it. Now, some companies might do it differently, where it will be your manager, and it might be either in person or it might be via Microsoft Teams, but you're actually with someone. If possible, just hit that record button on your phone. That way you could go back to it if needed. If you don't have that option, that's still fine. Usually when you get laid off, they're going to be sending you a ton of information. But what you need to do is make sure you have all the information that you need. So what's that information? Well, I'm going to give you a little running list right now. So the first thing you want to clarify is your termination date. So just because you got laid off on a certain day doesn't mean that that is your last day with that company. For example, for me, I got laid off on February 7th, but my termination date was March 2nd. And even though as soon as I got off that meeting, they locked down my computer and I wasn't working anymore for the company, like I wasn't doing work for them, I was still technically employed until March 2nd. So it's very important that you get a clear termination date. The reason why this is very important is because which is something I have in one of my later steps, is collecting unemployment. You need that termination date, because if your termination date is, let's say, a month after the date that you were laid off, you can't collect unemployment until that termination date, because chances are you're still going to be getting paid for that month. So that's something that's really important. Also, to understand the benefits. When do your benefits expire? Do they expire on your termination date? Do they expire the end of that month of your termination date? If the day you're getting laid off, if that is your termination date, do your benefits go until midnight, or do you have the rest of the month? So make sure you have a clear understanding of when exactly your benefits expire. Now, most companies, when they do a layoff, they will pay for COBRA insurance for you for a certain amount of time. So make sure you also understand that and that you get that in writing, and know when you need to sign up for COBRA. So it is really important that you get a contact information from HR because if they shut down your system, you're not going to be able to send them an email or look them up in the directory. So make sure that you have somebody that you can reach out to in human resources to ask these important benefits questions. You do not want to be caught off guard and then find out something happened and then find out you don't have benefits anymore. So get that in writing from the company. Another thing that's really important is to understand what to do with your 401k. Get the contact information from that HR person for who you need to contact for your 401k. And how do you roll it over into either a new 401k once you get a new job, or take it out completely and put it into an IRA or something like that. So make sure that you get the contact information on what to do with your 401k. And also too, if you have stock in the company, either vested or unvested stock, what does that mean? What can you do with that? Can you pull that out and put that in and see a financial advisor and put that in somewhere? Now, I don't know a whole bunch about that. I still need to take my stock out of PayPal, so it's still there. But you don't want to leave any money on the table. Make sure you get everything that you can, your 401k and any stock options that you have with that company. That is yours. You are entitled to that. Another thing that's really important is to know, when will you get your last paycheck? Not only when will you get your last paycheck, but how do they plan on paying you? So some companies will continue to do direct deposit. So if you have direct deposit with them, they may just do it direct deposit. But some companies, they will give your last check to you in form of a paper check. I think it just kind of gives them a little extra time to pay you out if it's a paper check versus direct deposit. So make sure you understand exactly how you're going to get that last paycheck. And if they are going to be mailing it to you, make sure that HR has your correct address. Sometimes you start with a company and then you move and you never update the information in their system with your new address. You're going to want to make sure you do that, because if they're mailing out that final check to you, the last thing you want is for it to go to the wrong address and then you get a large delay in getting your last check. So make sure that they have your updated address. Another thing that's really important is severance. Make sure you understand whether or not you are getting a severance. Now, if you're working for a large corporate company, most likely you will get a severance, some sort of severance. So get it clear from HR. Is it going to be a lump sum severance payment, or are they going to be paying it to you over time? And how many weeks is that severance? This is also going to be very important that you know for when you file for unemployment, because most states, when you file for unemployment, if you have some sort of severance, they are not going to pay you unemployment benefits until that severance period has run out. So for instance, if you have a termination date of March 2nd and you were given 6 weeks severance, for instance, then they're not going to pay you until 6 weeks after your termination date, because you got that severance check. So make sure you have a clear understanding exactly how many weeks you're getting for severance, so that way you can put that in your claim when you file for unemployment. Another question you want to ask them is, are you eligible for rehire? This is also important, because if there's another opportunity in the future for you to work there, you want to know if you're eligible for rehire. Now, most of the time, if you are laid off and it's not performance related, you will be eligible for rehire. You'll be marked in their system, at least, as eligible for rehire. Now, whether or not they rehire you is one thing, but in their system, technically, you would be marked as eligible for rehire. Usually, companies do not mark someone that's not eligible for rehire unless they left due to really bad performance or misconduct reasons. So make sure you understand if you're eligible for rehire. Also too, if you go back to that company, let's say another opportunity, they offer you another opportunity and you are already paid out your severance, chances are you will need to pay back a portion of your severance. So that's another thing is really important, is once you get that severance check, don't go crazy spending it if you plan on trying to go back to that company. Because if they give you a 6-week severance, but in 3 weeks you are re-employed with them, they're going to make you pay back 3 weeks worth of your severance. In most cases. Not every company's like that, but I know, like when I left PayPal, they said like if you're rehired, you'd have to pay back some of your severance. I'm going to assume that a lot of companies are like that as well. It is very, very important that you have a termination letter laying out all the details of your termination with your date, with your benefits information, with your severance information, all the contact information that you need. This should all be in your termination letter. If they are not including any of that information, make sure you reached out to your contact from HR and make sure it is put in there, or they give it to you in some other way. Another thing that's important is knowing when you can sign your termination letter. Normally you cannot sign it until your termination date, and if you're getting a severance, you have to sign that termination letter in order to get your severance. Also, you need to understand if there's anything else that you need to do before getting your severance. So for instance, with PayPal, we had to return our laptop and our phone. If they did not receive it, they would hold our severance until they got back their property. So make sure you have a clear understanding of what you need to give back to them or do for them before you get that severance check. The last thing you want is for them to hold your severance because you forgot to do something, whether it's sign your termination paper or send back any kind of property that belongs to them. So make sure you have a very clear understanding as far as what is needed to get that severance check. So after you get all the information that you need, number 2 on my list is to take a week. Take a week to yourself. This being laid off is emotionally draining. And I remember the first morning waking up after a layoff thinking, oh my gosh, I need to update my resume and I need to start applying to positions. And my mind was racing with all of these things that I need to do. And if you can, take a week to yourself, do something for you. Now, you may not have the money now might not be the best time to go on a vacation, but just take a week, do something that you like to do. Organize your house, or sit outside, or do a fun day thing. Just do something for you, because you really need to give yourself a break and be able to process what's happened before you start your job search. So don't be afraid to take some time to yourself before you jump back in to getting everything done with a job search. Number 3 on my list is file for unemployment. You want to make sure that you get that information into the state as soon as possible. You're going to need all of your income information. Depending on the state, they're going to want to know exactly what you made from quarter to quarter, include any bonuses or anything like that. So if you can, try to get some copies of your pay stubs. That will be just a lot easier instead of going into your bank account and just kind of doing it that way. So make sure you get all the info that you need for unemployment. You're going to need that termination date as well as any severance information or vacation payout or anything like that. That's going to be things that they're going to ask you when you file for unemployment. So make sure you do that right away. That way you can start getting your employment benefits as soon as you are eligible. Number 4 on my list is to update your LinkedIn account. Now, if you don't have LinkedIn, this is the perfect time to get a LinkedIn account. For those of you not familiar with what LinkedIn is a social network specifically for professionals. It is where you are going to connect with people in your industry, and you put all of your work history on there. It's almost like an online resume. And it is really important that you utilize your network to help you land your next job. So if you are unemployed, LinkedIn is a must. When you have LinkedIn, there is a way for you to have what's called the Open to Work banner. It's a green banner that goes around your picture that lets recruiters and hiring managers or anybody on LinkedIn know that you are currently looking for a job. Recruiters, when they are looking for candidates in LinkedIn, they sometimes will filter, a lot of times they will filter to just show people that are open to work, because most likely those are the people that are going to respond to their messages. So if you are open to work, it is very important that you notate that on your LinkedIn profile. You can do that by going to your profile, and under your picture there is going to be a little thing that says open to. Click on that and you'll see open to work, and make sure you set it the way you want to. Another thing is make a post about being laid off. So a lot of times when people see, I've seen a ton of these, when people get laid off, they're posting about like they're laid off, they're open to work. They're not just turning their green banner on, but they're making a post about it. What kind of job are you looking for? What are some of your skills? Anytime somebody likes one of your posts or comments, that will show up to their network. So this is really a great way to get your name out there. And that is why it's really important to not only say you're open to work, but what types of roles, what location, what exactly are you looking for? Because there might not be somebody in your network that has an opportunity for you, but there might be someone in your friend's network that has an opportunity for you. And so it is really, really important that you make a separate post on LinkedIn about being open for work. Now, don't utilize just LinkedIn. I also did a post about being laid off on my personal Facebook page. And normally Facebook, I usually only put good things on there, but I decided to be vulnerable and put a post on there on Facebook. And let me tell you, I had so many of my close friends and acquaintances comment on that for reach. Tell me about different jobs that were available. I had some people that ended up calling me or text messaging me because they saw my post on Facebook that I was open to work. So you don't have to just limit it to LinkedIn. Share it on any other social network because that will really help get the word out there that you're open to work. Now, don't be ashamed that you're laid off. Some people don't want to share it with the world because they feel guilty. It's not your fault that you were laid off. So let people know, because if people don't know, they're not going to know that you're looking for work and they may not come to you for a possible opportunity. Number 5 on my list is to update your resume. This is really important, and for obvious reasons. You need your resume to find your next job. Now, another thing that some companies do when you're laid off, they will give you career assistance. They will hire a company to come in and consult with those that have been laid off. They will help you with resume writing. They will help you, network to people that can help you get jobs. That's what they do. And so a lot of companies will utilize that. So find that out from HR if they have a company like that. And if so, I would go to them to help you update your resume. It's always good to have a professional take a look at your resume and give you pointers. But before you send your resume to them, it's important that you update it yourself. You can do so by just adding in your new employer. Take a look at some of your past employers on your resume and update them accordingly. Make sure you're updating your skills section with any new skills that you have gained from your previous employment, because a lot of times when you apply to a position, and if recruiters are going through a ton of applications, they can search applications by keywords and things like that. So any kind of computer skills or skills that you have picked up during your time at your last position, make sure that you are adding those to your resume. I'm going to do a series of videos on resume writing, so stay tuned for that. Like, very important that you subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to go piece by piece of the resume, like your summary, your job portion of your interview, your education, all of that. I'm going to go into great detail on that on a later video. But make sure the first thing you do is just update it, send it to people to review to get their opinion, especially if the company that you just got laid off from is offering you any kind of career services. It's really important that you utilize that right away, because a lot of times they will only do it for a certain amount of time after you get laid off. So don't wait 2 or 3 months after you get laid off to start utilizing them, because you may have missed your window to do so. My last one, number 6, is to budget. Budget. Obviously, getting laid off is going to be a huge financial hit for you. Now, hopefully you have some savings saved up so you are not in dire needs right away to have to completely cut everything out of your budget. But if you don't have a large savings saved up and you don't get a large severance from your current employer, it is really important that right away you take a look at what you're spending your money on and determining what you can cut. So some of those might be, if you're paying for cable, we all know how expensive cable is these days. Do you really need cable, at least for now? Contact your cable company. They might be able to cut a deal. If they think that you're leaving, they might take money off per month if you don't want to necessarily get rid of cable completely, or get rid of it and you get Netflix or Hulu or whatever the case may be. There's so many different streaming options that you don't necessarily need cable, and that's a huge expense. Also, take a look at subscriptions. Some people might not realize that they're having so many things taken out of their account on a monthly basis. Do you have a wine membership that you don't need? Which I didn't get rid of mine because I need my wine membership. Are you paying for other kind of subscription, a magazine subscription? Do people still do that? Or do you have some kind of shave club of the month, or whatever the case may be? Anything that you have, or bark box for your animals. I think your animals can go a little while without 5,000 toys a month. So find things that you can cut out just to save as much money as you can on a monthly basis. Another important thing to look at are your eating habits. Are you eating out at restaurants or doing takeout once or twice a week? That's gonna really eat into your budget, no pun intended. So take a look at that, cut that out as much as you can. And also too, what I did when I got laid off is I looked on Pinterest for some budget-friendly recipes. There are many recipes out there that have only a couple of ingredients, so you're not buying as much groceries, and a lot of them are actually pretty good. So there's always ways to be creative in cutting out any kind of food budget. Well, there you have it. There's my list of 6 things that you must do after you get laid off. I really hope that you found this list helpful, and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there's anything that I've missed. Maybe others have done different things to kind of get them through that first week. I want us all to be able to help each other through this difficult time of navigating through unemployment and being laid off. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you at the next one. Bye.